local history, local culture, local events, your community. This is the Joe Kelly Show.
And hi there, everybody. Welcome to the show. Thanks for joining us. As the precede said, local history, and that's what we're going to be talking about today, local history. Rebecca McLain's our guest. She is the executive director at the Oneida County History Center. We're going to be talking about what's going on up at the History Center. We're going to be talking about some memorabilia that Rebecca brought with her, and we'll also be talking about some upcoming exhibits. But before we do any of that, we're going to say welcome. Good to see you.
Good morning, Joe.
The Oneida County History Center has been impacted as much as every other institution in our area. You closed after Christmas?
Yep, we closed briefly after Christmas for about 3 weeks, just to kind of play it safe and avoid the expected and the, that did happen, the after Christmas spike.
Mm-hmm.
Not just for our staff, of course, but our volunteers who are a high-risk group in general. So we wanted to keep everybody safe. It just wasn't worth the risk.
Yeah, and it's open now, regular hours?
Yeah, so we'll be normal hours. So right now, we're Monday through Friday, 10 to 4. Select Saturdays by appointment, and then the research library right now is entirely by appointment as well. But we have a ton of slots, again, we have to keep our numbers down. The space is a little bit more confined downstairs,
So when you say keep the numbers down, keep the number of people in there at one time?
Yes, yeah, so we can make sure we maintain distance, all that kind of good stuff.
Okay. The time that the History Center was closed, you were doing virtual stuff during that time, yes?
Yes. So the staff continued to come in, and then we have been doing virtual programming for quite a while. We did our first virtual program last June, and we have kept up with it. And our most recent, we just did one this past week on the Utica artist Henry DeSpirito. So we had Ashley Hopkins Benton from the New York State Museum, who actually she had done a ton of research on DeSpirito, and I had heard her on the Bob Cudmore podcast, and I thought that would be perfect for us. So even though it's past, you can still catch it. We're putting most of our virtual lectures up on our YouTube channel, so you don't have to catch it live. You can certainly watch it after.
Speaking of that, you also had a very popular one, did you not, with Oneida County historian Joe Bottini.
Joe Bottini, yes. So that one was a little bit different. It was sort of a fundraiser. We did charge admissions for non-members for that program, but it was on Trinkus Manor, the history, the family, and we had fantastic turnout with around 150 people there with us.
The Trinkus Manor light decorations has, always been a popular topic in our area.
Absolutely. I mean, I think it's a huge part of our institutional memory. Absolutely a huge part of our history. Just people have so many fond memories, not just from the lights in the holiday season, but visiting throughout the year, celebrating anniversaries, events like that.
Speaking of fundraising things, there was a virtual, and I know because I was part of it, the Historical Hall of Fame and the Living Legends program this fall. That was done virtually.
Yes, it definitely was. So we had a virtual induction ceremony where we invited guests to join us virtually, honor the inductees. A lot of great help from WTR here, helping us produce. It has been a program. So it started in 1946. Right, the Hall of Fame, and we didn't want to skip a year.
And the telethon, and I know you can't talk too much about it because we're going to be meeting with the good folks here at WUTR shortly to talk about the telethon, but the telethon has been that the WUTR puts on for the Oneida County History Center has been the signature fundraising event for the institution. So that's something that you don't want to see go by the wayside.
Yeah, absolutely. So I would say definitely be on the lookout for an announcement about the date when it will be held. It was typically hosted in the early spring, so late March, early April. We're probably looking at pushing it a little bit later, again, just so we can ensure safety of all involved. and make sure it's the right time. It is an important event. We don't want to rush it, and we want to make sure all of our supporters get the recognition they deserve and that we have a great event.
If somebody wants to come down to the 1608 Genesee Street now, the doors are open. They can come in and look at exhibits. What would they see, Rebecca?
So we do have a number of exhibits up. So right now, I guess thematically, we have one on presidential connections to the area.
In fact, you brought some memorabilia with
Yes.
you, and we'll look at that later.
I borrowed a few items from the exhibit. Others did not travel well, so you'll have to come down and see those yourself. And so it's a mixture of items. So we have photographs, documents, actual physical artifacts for both presidents who have either lived in the area or just items we happen to gather in our collection that kind of represents our connection to national elections.
World War I, you got a World War I exhibit
Yep,
up
we
there.
also have a World War I exhibit, again, focusing on both the home front and individuals from the county that had served. So the gambit runs kind of wide there again. So from physical items, uniforms, equipment that was used in the war, to documents and letters from what was happening here on the home front.
You were telling me before the show, Rebecca, about a cannonball.
Oh, cannonball, yeah. So that's another exhibit that we also have up, but I would say come down and see that one soon. It's expected to come down towards the end of February. It's a display of our oldest artifacts, and one unique item in there that I think is fun is a cannonball that was found embedded in a tree at the Oriskany battlefield. So kind of dates, perhaps one of our oldest artifacts.
And that's kind of apropos considering the United County Historical Society was the driving force behind putting up the Oriskany Monument.
Yes. So, a lot of stuff. So nobody promised to put one up, but it was kind of an agreement between the Continental Army and some other individuals. And so local representatives kind of pushed for it, and the History Center got involved for fundraising. So some of the funding did come from the government, and then a lot of the other funds were donated by descendants of those who fought at the battle, and then members of then the Oneida Historical Society.
Okay. The next thing we're going to talk about in the next segment will be a little bit about Black History Month.
Absolutely.
And you are making some plans for that. And then in the third segment, we'll look at some of the memorabilia that Rebecca was nice enough to bring with her. Rebecca McLain, United County United County History Center Executive Director. Short break, right back.